Hello, everyone, and welcome to day 2 of the Teacher Empowerment Summit. My name is Jesse. I'm one of the two people that put this together. Austin is the other one. I'm going to be on camera most of the time. You also can see Austin on Facebook Live events, and I think YouTube Live events as well this evening. He kind of likes to wrap up the day with a little bit more of a social hour. Today, I want to welcome everybody. If you did not check in yesterday and you're just checking in today, we saw several people, actually quite a few people were watching some of the videos this morning as well before it switches over from day 1 to day 2, which happens at 10 a.m. It's a little bit different depending on your time zone. But welcome, it is day 2. Everybody's time zone should have rolled over by now into the current day, which is day 2. Yesterday, as I talked about a little bit, we talked all about self. And so the quick version, again, since it's a live video, and I know it flips backwards sometimes, but it is self, resources, and team, which is part of the expedition triad. Basically, Austin and I, our background is not only in the classroom, but before that, different forms of experiential education, either in Peace Corps or summer camps, and we ran indoor field trip adventure center together as well. That's what we kind of view a lot of the education through. So for this summit, if you're just checking in, if you're looking through for day 2, this video, each day I do kind of an intro video. I'm going to talk a little bit about day 1, which was yesterday, and then I'm also, of course, going to introduce day 2, all of the speakers that we have up, give you just a quick preview, an idea of what they're all about as well, so that you can kind of prioritize, choose. Hopefully you have time to watch all of them, but you can choose which ones that you want to start with as well, and kind of which ideas you're most interested in as well. So this is day 2 of our 3-day summit. First off, I do want to say welcome everybody that's watching now or just has checked in. We have hundreds of teachers all over the country, as well as scattered around the world, which is pretty exciting. And we're sharing videos from those 20 experts who also were all over the world, mostly United States, but we did have people kind of scattered about as well, which is pretty exciting. And a lot of the people we interviewed are traveling enough that we were interviewing them in different countries as well, which was pretty exciting. So today, the idea of that resource, that the triangle right here, is basically, as we work with teachers, as we work with nonprofit leaders, anybody we're working with in the education sector, we're looking at kind of from our frame of reference is that outdoor world where anytime you go out on an adventure, all you really have with you is yourself, your team that you bring with you, and your resources, and everything about improving your experience, your quality, not only that you're delivering, but the quality of life that you're experiencing as an educator is all about using and developing and perfecting yourself, your team, and your resources. So today, yesterday was all about self. Today is all about your resources. And I'm going to talk just a little bit. We're going to switch to a screen share here, which will take just a second, but then we will have it up. All right, so I'm going to switch to the screen share here. And the screen share, there we go. Excellent. Ho, ho, ho. That is always exciting. I'm going to screen share a slightly different window because I've got an amazing echo going on. All right. Here we go. And all righty. That always takes just a second. So this screen over here, we're going to open this up. But basically, Teacher Empowerment Summit Day 2. I'm going to walk you through just a couple of the kind of the framework that Teacher Starting Fires has about the ideas, both for yesterday and today. So that adventure triad, which is this one, that every day you have yourself, your resources, and your team, and that is everything that you have. Now, that is, going on an outdoor adventure, but let's face it, just like we always say, there's not a huge difference sometimes. The classroom is also quite the adventure pretty often. So yesterday we talked all about self, and today we're going to come down here, resources, and as you can probably guess, day 3 is going to be team. So just for yesterday, our self triad, basically each one of those points, we then have another triad, a triangle of key points to keep in mind. The way that we break it down, we wanted a framework. We used to work with adventure educators. They might be really amazing rock climbers or mountain bikers or archery experts, but they weren't always necessarily trained as teachers. A lot of times they weren't. And so we had to break it down in a way that could make sure they were delivering quality education as well as having a great time themselves, and basically delivering a safe and amazing educational experience that students loved, which is what we're all after anyways, right? So To start with, serve was yesterday. We've got just a couple points under that. Our 2 points that we always taught were mindfulness, and we have a little bit of a framework. I'm not going to go into details on this, but mission. Basically, it's taking a few minutes, normally at the beginning of every day, to be mindful, to build up your self-awareness, to get used to kind of build up that habit of awareness and reflection. And then in the evening, typically at the end of the entire day of adventure or the end of your classroom day as teachers, is reflecting a little bit on how well you met your mission, what your mission was, basically if you're doing all the things that you set as goals. Now, we saw this from a lot of speakers yesterday. Mindfulness, you, of course, Lisa Flynn talked all about mindfulness, but a lot of the other teachers as well. I know Ambrose on the fitness side also talked about breathing exercises, building self-awareness. Kim, the happiness coach, Kim Strobel, she also talked a little bit about, in that happiness framework, the idea of basically gratitude, becoming aware. It's taking a few minutes every day reflecting. Daniel Bauer also talked about journaling, which is essentially another form of mindfulness, as well as mission, because it lets you reflect on the day, all right? So without going into too much detail, we had a lot of speakers cover these points because this is the loose framework we use to help teachers organize their thoughts and make sure that they're getting the most out of their career as well. Yesterday, the second point was leadership, which was improving your craft, which is exactly what you're doing here. You're spending some time every single day this weekend, learning more, getting new advice, getting new information, and building up your craft. And we also have connect. Now, there are opportunities in the summit to do that. I love that out of the hundreds of people we have, you can reach out to Teachers Starting, or find us on Facebook, Teachers Starting Fires. We also have a discussion group there, Adventure Education Secrets for Teachers. And you also have the ability to interact with, during Austin's kind of social hour each evening as well, to have a discussion, reflect on some of the day, get some interaction with other teachers of the hundreds of teachers who have registered for this event. But building up your craft and connecting with others who have a similar mindset, who have a similar motivation as you, both of those are great things to do to build up your own teaching ability. And finally, live. So we've got serve, all about our job as teachers is all about service. But if you get so wrapped up in service that you become a martyr, you tend to forget to actually lead and decide where you're going with your students. And then our last point over here is live. And we've got a few points. We put food first. You would be shocked at how many, not only, we saw it especially in summer camp counselors who just forget to eat all day, even though they're hiking like 15 miles a day at 7,000 feet. And that was one of the big things we had to, basically food and water. You need that. As teachers, I've also been shocked at how often teachers happen to admit they have a headache and haven't had water all day, even though they've been on their feet and talking and actively moving and thinking, which burns metabolism, of course. So food, fitness, we saw a lot of our speakers yesterday talk about that as well. Of course, Ambrose is right up there, and then Lisa Flynn again. Fitness, though, as a teacher, building that into your life cycle is super important. And then finally, fun, and this is a huge part. This was in the happiness as well. That can be the social connection, that can be doing things just for fun. But honestly, one of your responsibilities, the way we see it, is one of your responsibilities is as a teacher to make sure you leave time for yourself to really enjoy life and do things that maybe you wouldn't otherwise, and you're going out of your way to have fun so that you can basically thrive as a person and continue being an amazing role model for your students, who you, of course, also hope thrive as people, right? Now, finally, today we're moving on to the resources triad, the quick outline on what you're going to see speakers reflect on in different ways, but this is kind of how we want to frame it. We always talked about resources, especially outdoor education. You talk about your gear, right? If you're going rock climbing or archery or anything, it's all about that gear. If you're going backpacking or hiking, it's super important to have the right type of equipment. The right type of tools and equipment is also important in the classroom. And I know immediately when you think resources, like, we're completely underfunded, we'll never get what we need. But our framework is basically minimize. One of the stories I always tell, I'll do the quick version, but basically I was one of the teachers of a small summer school program. There were 3 teachers in the school. I had, a big outdoor education experience. I was used to teaching in the woods, basically. Somebody else was from Peace Corps, and she was used to teaching literally in a grass hut in Madagascar. And then the third teacher had never taught outside of a classroom. And we had a blackout, and the 2 teachers, myself and the one who had been in Peace Corps, we didn't even think anything about the blackout. We just adjusted. We didn't use PowerPoints. We just used the whiteboards. It's still a full classroom. We all have amazing windows. It was a good environment. However, we found out at the end of the day, or actually at lunch, we found out that the third teacher, who had never been outside a classroom, because she had scheduled, PowerPoint and movie for the day, she basically had no planned to fall back onto, even though it was a history class and you had literally the history of the entire world that she could have reflected on and taught and improved. But just that idea of not having the exact resources she needed froze her up, made it so that she couldn't teach that day. And by lunch, her class, because they'd been there for 3 hours doing nothing, was so riled up and crazy that we ended up having to cancel the second half of the school day. So the idea of minimizing throughout this seminar, you will find a huge number of resources, a huge number of ideas, but we're not saying that you need to choose every single one. In fact, every speaker says even out of their own ideas, you won't be able to apply every one of them that day. But really choosing the ones that work well for you, that's minimizing, is using as little as possible to do as much as possible. Also mastering, then if you only have a few resources, instead of having 700 different tools you need to kind of learn how to use, you will instead be mastering one or a few tools that you're very good at, a few things that work well for you. And finally, maintaining, which is part of what you're doing in the summit, and that's kind of the idea of continuing professional credits anyways, or continuing education credits, but is maintaining your knowledge as well. All right, so I'm going to stop screen sharing. We'll come back to me here. There it is. All right, so today, day 2, we've got quite a few speakers. I'm going to just outline them real quick. But the people that you can watch today, basically from a few hours ago until tomorrow morning, 10 a.m., however it fits in your schedule over the weekend, you can watch an interview with Jennifer Roy, who is an award-winning speaker. She also, the way we actually found her is kind of, you know, part of that triad is craft, is improving your craft each day. So teacher blogs I was looking through, one that stood out that was really popular, I think it's in the multiple thousands of views and likes and comments and everything, is her blog article about Marie Kondoing a classroom. If you're not familiar with Marie Kondo, you'll find out more, but it's basically a very simplistic, minimalist organization system for your classroom. She talks about going through that process not in your home, as Marie Kondo often does, but in your classroom. She also talks about the importance and kind of the ability to let go of things. And she talks about applying those same ideas to her writing style, as she has several school books that she tours on and speaks about as well. And you'll hear a little bit about those. Resources, then again, the next one up, also an amazing speaker. Austin interviewed Brad Gustafson. I believe I have the name right. So Brad, Austin interviewed him as well, Dr. Brad Gustafson, and he talks about the child-centered ruckus. And his resource is really different ways to, again, not let go of all the data and everything else, but to make sure that that core of focusing on every aspect of the child instead of just the academic aspect is there throughout the entire educational spectrum. Today, 2 other people that I'm really excited for. My background in experiential education and playing outdoors and working with students, I so many times have seen a student grow in an hour or 2 of rock climbing, that even though, you know, no real academic content was delivered quite often, if it's just a rock climbing program, in an hour I've seen students learn how to trust each other, learn how to trust themselves, learn how to work as a team, learn how to set goals and accomplish them, learn how to accept failure and move past it. And obviously they can't express all that, but in just those 2 hours they learn to overcome all these fears and kind of move up that social development ladder. That's one of our big focuses, is delivering things like this, like these 2 interviews, which is Michael Matera, who talks all about gamification and creating these amazing things called adventure paths that basically you'll hear in the interview, but is a kind of alternative learning path for the exact same material that gives students a little bit more autonomy, a little bit more selection. And he talks about how just in tiny little doses, starting even tomorrow, you could add more adventure, more gamification, and more kind of engagement to your students in the classroom as well as the process of, kind of gamifying your own life through your own mindset, which is a way to enjoy life more as well. Also on the idea of the power of play is Leroy Slansey from Canada. He was actually the first principal to start a Lighthouse play-based school system up in Canada, and had such amazing results that basically the district moved him up to a high school recently to try to apply the same result. But it is play-based education. The idea, and this is the part of the interview I found really interesting, is using play almost to draw out negative behaviors from students, so that you can then teach and address those negative behaviors without it also having to be tied to academics. So it's an amazing way to build up social development, and also an amazing way to improve behavior in your class, as well as have a lot more fun. We also have Justin Bader, he's a principal and a consultant, or a principal consultant, who teaches principals all over the country and world how to build a more specific basically more specific written rubrics that you can use, that teachers can generate for themselves, or that you could have as teachers, students generate for themselves, to make sure that people are actually being graded on the things that they thought they were doing. He really breaks the system down, and it's a valuable resource, especially principals, if you want to be able to, I know one principal group that we're part of, just there was a post about a principal wondering how she could evaluate teachers in subjects that she doesn't really have a background in. And this is one of those methods that would work very well to have that teacher kind of help build up their own rubric, agree on it, and then really have a clear way to work on that and define what you're doing. All right, and finally, we have Linmara Colon, who focuses on creating magical moments for students, and basically how to bring, her framework is how to bring the magic of the Disney World or Disneyland experience into your classroom, into your school if you're an admin, into your classroom if you're a teacher, and was also a wonderful interview to do. I really loved the ideas. And honestly, like I said yesterday, if you saw that or if you didn't, but as I said yesterday, each one of these interviews, Austin and I already even knew what they were going to be talking about. We knew the people, we'd been following them, and every single interview we were amazed at just how much useful information was coming through, exactly what we were finding out. So be sure, you've got, if you have the VIP Access Pass, you do have some highlights of each one of those already done, kind of made up for you in your one action sheet. If you're just registered free and watching everything throughout the weekend, you've got those 24 hours to watch all the videos, so I'll make this one short so you have more time for all our guest speakers. But if you would like, or you see a video that you would like access to the entire year, the neat part of a digital summit, unlike a normal summit that would just be done at the end of the 3 days and you'd all fly home and have spent thousands of dollars on airfare and hotel and summit registration fees, if you do decide that one of these videos, or many of them, or you just don't get to watch all of them and you want to see the rest, and you'd like lifetime access to that, then you can grab one of the VIP passes during the summit right now. They're $97. We also have a slightly downgraded $47 version as well that does get you lifetime access. But if you want the upgrades with the transcripts, if you want the MP3 files, and you want those one-page action sheets that kind of pull out highlights for you as you go along, as well as to become part of the Teachers Starting Fires membership area, basically get all the benefits that we'll continue to put in there throughout the year. Anytime we update the materials that go there, you'll have access to that as well. So if you'd like to upgrade to that, that's a $97 pass. And at the end of the summit, unsurprisingly, we will kind of up those prices again. So it'll be, I believe, $147 at the end of the summit for a lifetime access if you wait till Monday. However, for today and tomorrow, you can get that at that only $97 for 20 incredible speakers, as well as some of our framework as well, and you'll have lifetime access to that. So thank you so much for being part of the summit. We're really excited to have the hundreds of teachers that we do registered and part of our summit, and we're excited to share what we can from all of these other amazing speakers. Throughout the summit, if you have questions, feel free to email. Any of the tech side and everything else is going to be austin@tsfires.com, as in teachersstartingfires.com, but it's tsfires.com. So austin@tsfires.com. If you have content questions or you want to reach out to me too, that's JESSE, Jesse@tsfires.com. So with all of that, have an incredible summit day 2. I'll see you back around noon tomorrow for another live video on day 3. And otherwise, enjoy the summit, and you are only one step away basically from empowerment, from getting exactly where you want as a teacher, and we're really happy to be able to share the info that we have with you to help you get there. So have a great day, and we'll see you